Tying up another Carrie Stevens fly from the Hilliard book. This is called the Firefly. It's a very, very handsome little fly, very bright. I've had a number of people ask me recently as to what book I'm working from. This is a book by Leslie and Braden Hilliard, father and son, who chronicles basically all of Carrie Stevens' flies and her history and everything. And it's just a phenomenal book. If you're into the history of some of these flies and you like tying these and kind of learning more about them, I highly recommend it to anybody who is interested in these patterns. Get a copy of the book. There is a link down in the description. It is an affiliate link, just to let you know, but you can get it on Amazon. Just a wonderful book. But that's the Firefly. I'll get started tying. So I'm going to start the Firefly with my hook and the vise. This is a Partridge CS5-9X. It is a 9X long streamer hook, a little bit smaller than the CS15s that I normally tie on, and that's because the gray hackles that I have here are the cape that I have. Most of the longer feathers have been used, so I'm having to get into a little bit shorter feathers, so I'm just tying it on a shorter hook. I'm going to go ahead and debarb the hook. And I'm going to attach my thread. Because the Firefly has a orange floss body, I'm starting out with a white thread. This is a Danville 210 Denier in white. There is no tail on this, so I can put down a base layer of thread here, and then when I get to the rear of the fly, I can attach the tinsel for the tag, bring the thread back forward a little bit, tie in the floss, then bring the thread all the way up front, where I can then apply the floss, and then I can apply the tag and the rib at the same time. I don't have to stop, apply one, cut it off, and retie it in. The tag and the rib on this are just a Mylar tinsel. I'm using this is a size 10 Danville Mylar silver and gold tinsel. I'm going to get maybe about 6 or 7 inches. It doesn't have to be super long. I'm going to tie this in with the gold side up and advance my thread down. In this case, a little bit smaller hook, I like to go all the way down the end of the shank, which is about to the barb for the tag. The tag starts just a little bit in front of the hook and runs all the way down the end of the shank. Gives me a little bit longer body. At this point, I'll tie in the floss. I'm using a Danville 4-strand rayon in orange for this. I'm going to use all 4 strands here. I lost one of them. This time of year, with dry hands and fingers, you have to be a little bit more careful with this floss, because you can kind of shred it up a little bit, and your skin kind of pulls on it a little bit more. So now I'll advance my thread forward. You can put some wax on the thread if you want to help grip that down a little bit. And I'll bring my thread to the end of the body. Then I'll apply the floss body, the tinsel tag, and rib. So with my tag and rib tied in, that will complete the body. I'll bring my white thread back to the end of the body here and tie in the belly. Sometimes I'll change over to my finishing threads at this point because the white thread is only here so that it doesn't darken up that orange floss. But I found that because the bellies on these flies are a white bucktail usually, I find that it's just as well that I leave the white thread on. So I'm using some just white bucktail for the belly here. Already got some out. I prepped that. Basically, it's usually pretty sparse. You want to get some straight hairs and just get any of the wild hairs out of there that kind of going off in odd directions. I'm going to apply that to the underside. I want to make certain it stays down underneath. Trim away the excess. I'm going to put a couple of collecting wraps here. These are just light wraps that will hold that down, but not necessarily really tight wraps that are going to compress those hairs. Run my thread down to behind the eye of the hook. And now I'll change over to my orange thread. The Firefly has a head that is black with an orange band. This is a uni thread 8/0 in a pumpkin color. I'm going to attach the orange and wrap it down on top of the white, securing that white thread and the tag of orange, and then I can trim those away. Bringing my thread back down almost the full length of where that white's tied in. This is where I'm going to start tying in the throat. The throat is some gray hackle. I'm using some gray schlappen here. I'm going to tie 3 clumps in. The first one goes in, and these all go in such a manner as you're trying to cover up that white thread. You want these to be about halfway down the body. The first one goes in right on the bottom. And I advance my thread forward a little bit to about the rear end of where the head's going to be. And I tie in the next 2 that are going to be more on the side so that they help to cover up that white thread. At least that's the thought behind it. I can't say that I have 100% got that procedure down. It's just still doing a little research, trying to learn just what was being done. I do know that's the goal, is to cover up the thread wraps. But for me, I guess there's a part of me that's thinking, why not just tie, the bucktail and throat all up in the head space, and then the head comes back and covers all of it. However, keeping in mind that the silks that she used behave different than the threads that we use. So maybe she just had a different procedure and that's what worked. Like I said, still kind of researching and trying to figure out just how it was done. But this worked for me so far. I've been able to tie some really nice flies, and they fish well. They look well. I could avoid this part right here by just selecting some longer barbs from a different feather. By the way, sometimes you get to prepping your material and you just grab some that are about long enough off of a feather that's getting pretty sparse, and then you're sitting here trying to get in and clip away these small pieces. So I'm cleaning this area up a little bit. This is going to be the head space. There's my throat and belly in. So now I'm ready for the wing on the Firefly, and the first part of the wing is some peacock herl. Get 4 to 5 strands, I should say 4 to 6 is what the recipe calls for, barbs of peacock herl. You're going to tie these in. They're going to be the same length as the belly. And then I'll clean this up a little bit, making a nice little platform for tying in the wings. Position my thread about halfway up the head there for the wings. The rest of the wings are, well, that peacock herl always has a mind of its own. So the rest of the wings are made up of, there's 2 gray hackles in the center. On the outside, then, there is a yellow hackle on the outside of each one, the same length as the gray. And then there's an orange hackle that is just slightly shorter than the gray and the yellow. And that makes up the wing. There is no shoulder, but there is a cheek of jungle cock on this. So I'll match those up. I've prepped these already. I match the tips of those up, and the base of them will all match up. I'll cut away the excess rachis here, so I have just a little bit of a nub for tying in. I'll tie these in one at a time. I want to put these on the top, but actually towards the outside of the top. Make certain that's positioned where I want it, how I want it. That peacock herl is still just kind of doing its own thing. I'm actually going to cut that peacock herl out. It's kind of got a life of its own. Now, I've got these on the sides, but if you look at them, they're not exactly flush on the side. It's kind of tilted a little bit. So that may have been from me messing with the peacock herl. But I'm going to unwrap this, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit more, cocking it towards my side. Again, I'm wanting to have this on the top, but I want a little more forward. I want it on the top, but I want it on kind of on my side on the top. That's a little bit better. Yeah, that's definitely better. So if you look at this, this is kind of on the top of the head space right there, but it's not directly in the middle. It's on my side, so the other wing will sit right alongside of it. And that one twisted on me again. I'll set the other one up here, making certain I have the tips matched down here. Get about a dozen wraps on there to hold that in place. So I know it's not going to move while I'm taking a look at it. Now, interesting, this one's laying right on the side going straight back, but this one here kind of cocked up a little bit. Sometimes you can get your thumbnail in there and press down on that to just get that like you want it. Once you have that all in place, go ahead and secure that in. I'm going to come down to the eye of the hook, start shaping the head, covering up all the butt ends, smoothing off the head space with the orange thread. Once you have that the shape you want and you've got everything covered up, we can go ahead and secure the orange thread. Putting a little wax on my thread here so that when I do my whip finish, the orange thread doesn't pop back out from underneath the wraps of that whip finish as I cut the thread. That sometimes happens. These nylon threads can stretch. You get them under tension. When you're doing that whip finish, sometimes they'll pop back out underneath those thread wraps. So I secured the orange thread. I've got one bucktail here that seems to also have a life of its own, which happens. And keep in mind, if this is a fishing fly, I'm not going to worry about that. Some of that material's going off because as this is swimming in the water, all of this kind of compresses and it flashes wherever it goes and does its little thing. If this is going to be a fly that's going to be mounted or presented, then yeah, I want to try and make that look just a little bit nicer. Now, the head, as I mentioned, is a black head with an orange band. Now I'm going to put the black bands in. I'm using a Danville 70 Denier in black. The reason I do it this way is because if I did an all black head and put the orange bands on it, that black thread underneath the orange would darken up that orange thread. This way I have a nice bright orange head, and I'm just covering up with the darker black thread that portion of the rear and front band. So now that I have the front band done, again, a little wax on the thread there so that with this whip finish, that thread does not come out from underneath it. A little bit of head cement. This is a fly-tight head cement. It's an alcohol-based head cement. It's very thin. It'll soak down into those thread wraps. And it will secure all the head on that. Now I'll come back and I'll put 2 coats of a clear lacquer on there, and that's just to help protect the threads a little bit. And then the firefly will be done. Nice, bright, pretty pattern. You can see where this would be kind of like a nice little brook trout fly. Now, see, interesting. Just when I touch that right there, I think the alcohol on here can sometimes dissolve the wax that's on the thread, and that thread right there just popped out. So what I'll do is I'll wait till that dries and I'll cut it. I could reattach my black thread and secure that down, but probably would wait for the head cement to cure, cut it, and or put the clear lacquer on there and cut it. Maybe I'll just actually try and cut it right now. You know, this is the internet. This has to all look perfect. So there you go. Again, a nice handsome pattern. I could see where this would kind of be like a brook trout fly. Nice and bright. There's the firefly. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch. or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.